Well, as you saw, I am air layering Ligustrum branches. Ligustrum is also known as Japanese Privet. These branches coming straight up off the main trunk are perfect candidates because they have a good shape at the top, and that's what you want to look for if you're doing an air layering, because you're essentially making a new plant out of a branch. So you want to look for a branch that has good growth at the top if you can picture it as an independent plant. I'm going to do one more, so let me give you a close-up of that and I'll show you how I do it. And if you're going to try air layerings the same way I show you in this video, what you will need is aluminum foil, sharp pocket knife, electric tape, Schultz take root, rooting hormone, and a small paintbrush to apply the rooting hormone. That's actually optional. You'll probably be okay without it. Plastic sheeting that I cut into 16-inch by 10-inch pieces. I cut them out of a 0.7 mil thick plastic drop cloth. Purchased at Home Depot. For the rooting medium, I use Mosser Lee long fibered sphagnum moss. Also purchased at Home Depot. This is a 432 cubic inch bag, and I usually get between 10 to 12 air layerings from a bag this size. And you'll need to soak the moss in a bucket. In this case, I'm using a 5-gallon bucket. You want to soak it for, I'd say, at least 2 hours so that the moss becomes fully saturated. First thing I do is cut 5 pieces of electric tape, and I find some place to put them. Much easier if you pre-cut these pieces, because when you need them, both of your hands are going to be occupied. I'm going to cut all the way around the branch, and then come down from that mark about 1.5 inches. Do the same thing. Now we're going to scrape off the bark between those 2 marks, and make sure you get all the way around the branch. Scrape off that green layer, get down to the hardwood, the white wood, and you can see what I'm talking about right here with the green layer. There's a little bit of green left right there. That's good right there, so we're good all the way around. Now I'm going to dip my finger in that water in the bucket, get the branch wet, and take the rooting hormone. And with the branch being wet, the hormone sticks a little bit better. Now I'll get my plastic sheet ready to go. I have about a softball sized ball of the sphagnum moss. I'm going to squeeze out most of the water. We want it to be wet but not saturated. And while you're doing that, if you feel any sticks like this, you need to pull those out because they can poke through the plastic. Now I'm going to separate the moss a little bit, form a little channel. I'm going to wrap it right around where I wounded the plant. And what happens if this works right is the plant right there at the spot where it was wounded, there's another stick, the plant will send out roots into the sphagnum moss, and that will form the new root ball. Now I'm going to take the plastic and wrap it around tightly and try to get the moss around the branch as evenly as you can. You can also kind of pull on the plastic at this point as you're tightening down so that the moss doesn't slide off of the spot where we wounded it. Wrap it tight at the bottom. Now here's where it comes in handy, having that tape pre-cut. As I apply the tape, I want to keep wrapping it in that same direction. If you try to wrap the tape in the opposite direction, that has a tendency to unwrap the plastic. Now I'm going to put a piece right here in the middle, hold that tight together, twist it tight at the top also, and again, go in the same direction that I was wrapping the plastic. When you get to the very end of the piece of tape, fold over one corner. Electric tape has a tendency to kind of blend together and it's hard to find the beginning. So folding over that corner makes it much easier when you go to take it all apart. Now I'm going to tear a piece of tin foil. I'm going to put it with the shiny side on the inside. Some people claim that keeping the shiny side on the inside makes it less attractive to birds and squirrels. Now we'll wrap that foil down tight, give it a good squeeze, get it nice and tight. Now the tape down at the bottom, you don't have to worry about folding over and making that tab because you're going to be cutting that off. Up top, we're going to do the same thing. The tin foil is wrapped in this direction. You want to put the tape about halfway on the foil and halfway on the branch because you want to seal between the branch and the foil. You don't want any water running down between the branch and the foil getting into the sphagnum moss. Same thing right here. I'm going to fold over a corner. That'll make it easy to grab when I go to take this apart in a few months. So this is now completely sealed with the plastic and the foil. We don't want the moisture that was left in the sphagnum moss to get out, and we don't want any more moisture to get in. So we're in good shape. Today is Thursday, May 16th. I'll be back in 5 months in mid-October to cut these off. I will unwrap them and show you the root development. Let's unwrap these and see what kind of root development we have. Now you'll notice there's an extra layer of tin foil around each one of them. That's because a couple of months ago I noticed that squirrels more than likely had torn some holes in the foil. You can see that even with that extra layer of foil, something tore into these again. And you might have that problem, so you should check them periodically. Now here we can see what I mentioned earlier about folding over the corner of that tape. That makes it easy now to just grab the tape and unwrap it. If it hadn't been folded over, that would have been much more difficult. And remember also I said you didn't have to fold it over at the bottom because we're going to cut that off. And this one did very well. Here again, you can see that tab. Makes it easy to take off. And there you go. Look at all those roots. With that amount of roots, this one will have no problem surviving. Now let's check out this one that was torn into. This one didn't do as well, but there are some roots. Based on past experience, this should be enough for this plant to survive. And here we may have a failure. Let me tear it open a little bit and see if I can find some roots. Nope, this one failed. No idea why it failed. I did them all exactly the same. Let's find another good one. Not as good as the first, but we do have some root development. So this one should make it. This one should survive. And look at the coloring. The one on my right hand, the one with the roots, feels very dry. The one on the left, you can tell by the coloring, this one's damp. So water must have gotten into this one when it was torn apart. Let me get them all unwrapped and we'll see how many good and how many bad we have. I'm only going to call this a moderate success. 6 of the 12 did excellent. You can see all the root development on those 6. 3 of them developed a few roots, enough to survive based on my past experience, and 3 were total failures. Now these 3 that completely failed, and these 2 over here with just a little bit of root development, you can see how dark they are. That's because they're wet. You can see all the water that's left in this one. I didn't leave anywhere near that much water in it. So a bird or squirrel, more than likely, tearing through the foil and the plastic, allowed water to get into these 3 as well as these 2, and more than likely caused the failures. So 9 of the 12, or 75%, should make it. These with a little bit of roots should be okay, and 3 total failures. So now let me get these put in 1-gallon pots. Now what I'm going to use as a potting medium is old pine bark mulch. Here's the last one, and I just want to show you how deep I'm planting the root ball. Put a couple of handfuls of that pine bark mulch in the bottom. Going to disturb the roots a little bit around the bottom so that they grow out. And a couple more handfuls, pack it in around the side. And I want to cover up that root ball right to the top. See how you can just see the top of it right there? All right, I'm going to go with that. Now let me put these next to last year's air layerings off the same plant. And last year, coincidentally, I got 9 good ones as well. So let me show you how big those are after being in pots for 1 year.
On the left are the ones that I just potted. On the right are ones that I potted last October, 1 year ago. So that's about how much growth you can expect in 1 year with Ligustrums. This is one of the ones that's been in a pot for 1 year. Very healthy root development. If all goes well, that's what you can expect in 1 year. So that's it. That's how to air layer and pot a Ligustrum, otherwise known as a Japanese Privet. So good luck if you try it, and thanks for watching.